Welcome to this Economic Times webinar where we'll be discussing about the next generation customer engagement strategies for businesses. This is your host, Satrajit Sen, and I'm welcoming you all to what promises to be a very enriching session about knowing the next steps of better customer engagement for businesses and for brands. So going forward, in today's digital era, customer engagement has become that key driver to your business success. Customers have evolved, customer demands have evolved, and hence businesses need to strategize well and create that robust omnichannel customer strategy uh, to ensure that they don't miss out on the customer journey and they don't miss out on the customer engagement part. Today, we are here to discuss, dive deep into understanding customer experience strategies and of how brands have evolved and working on new age customer experience and customer engagement strategies. In this webinar, this is being curated jointly by ETBrandEquity as well and our partners as Airtel. I'm honored to be joined by an esteemed panel of people from our partners, Airtel. I would like to introduce Mr. Avinash Deepak, Head of IT, ITES and Startups at Airtel Business. And I would like to welcome him for his opening address and the keynote note. So over to you, Avinash.
Thank you so much, Satrajit. Very good afternoon to all of you. I think still people are logging in, but thank you so much for the people who have logged in and taken time. I'm going to promise you that the next 1 hour that you're going to spend with us is going to be truly meaningful, and only hope we can create an impactful view as far as all of you are concerned. We would also love to take some questions in the chat box. We would love to learn from you in case there are some thoughts and ideas. We would love to learn from you. And the idea is to basically interact, in this format, as such. Let me try and tell you what we're going to discuss today. The topic is discussing how our organizations keeping customers engaged, knowing their problems and working therefore towards how to satisfy them in every possible way. This is for any brand the topmost competitive edge. Whoever is able to make an impactful difference as far as engaging with customers, knowing their customers and delighting them are the organizations which are all about growth, continuity and sustenance as far as the future is concerned. We will also talk a lot about what Airtel has done internally. We take customer engagement very, very seriously. As you all know, we are not a price player in the market. We represent a strong brand, and we attempt to, though we don't always get it right, we attempt to ensure our customers are always being heard and engaged in various shapes and forms. You will hear some of those practices as such, what Airtel is doing internally. We will also talk about a little bit, just dabble a little bit, some of the challenges which the industry faces as of today, some of it which we have learned in the last few years working closely with some of you on the call as well as multiple other customers, and talk about how to possibly look at, addressing some of them as such. So, Satrajit, if you allow me, I would like to talk about a great innovation which Airtel brought about during the pandemic. And if you allow me, I would like to run some slides through, as far as the group is concerned. Is that fine?
Avinash, the floor is yours.
All right. Okay. So pardon me, the slides, it gives me some direction to actually share very concrete. I promise this will not be, more than this, just about 3 or 4 slides. Airtel IQ is an innovation which we created, which is an example of how we drove customer centricity towards our customers, learned from them, right? And eventually what we created is a product for the market, to be offered. It's today, one of the most popular services as far as various aspects of customer engagement is concerned. Over a very short period of 1 year's time, it has attained more than 150 odd customers. I'm going to quickly share with you what is Airtel IQ. It's a communication platform, a omni-channel cloud communication platform, which today offers SMS and voice as far as engagement with customers is concerned. And tomorrow, when I say tomorrow, next, possibly a month and a half down the line, we will integrate WhatsApp, a full-fledged contact center, console. Speech analytics is something which is already available. It is continuously growing, and chatbot, video, etc. To we continuously hear from customers like you, and we evolve platforms like Airtel IQ to serve you better. What is Airtel IQ? What does it represent? Fundamentally, three pillars. When we stepped out of the market, we heard customers really cry out loud and say that my platforms are not robust. What are you doing about it? Right? What is a company like telco like Airtel doing about it? My platforms keep going down as far as customer engagement is concerned. The thought was, the feeling in the entire industry was that my data is not secure. When I give away the data to a third party, it is not safe. It is being sold, what we heard from some customers, monetized for different reasons. It is breachable because the organizations that I gave it to don't follow security as seriously as we would follow for our own customers, right? It sometimes falls into our own competition hands, right? And lastly, the demand, what we felt is that they wanted something which is simple, very easy to integrate into their environments. So therefore, Airtel IQ is a platform which offers robustness, security. Of course, we are a very large telco. We follow security, practices which are best in the world. We are also a bank, very strongly governed by RBI, as well as a telco, follow very strict rules by TRAI. So you get that as a guarantee as such. And intuitive, basically, the platform is immensely flexible and can operate in any environment as far as a customer situation is concerned. I will talk about that a little more through some use cases. We launched this. What we did was, let me run you through a quick story of March last year. Lockdown was announced, and we were used to a workway wherein Airtel used to serve customers through various outlets. People used to walk in for recharges, walk in for clarifications, various, bill clarity, etc., service requests. Lockdown was declared, and all our people were asked to work from home. Customers really found it difficult to do something as basic as a recharge. They did not know how to do it. We quickly created a platform which is now called Airtel IQ. In those days, it was called something else. It was an internal program which we drove, and we allowed for end customers to reach any of their regular, customer relationship officers, and we were able to resolve so many clarifications in terms of issues which customers had. We got a big thumbs up as far as that is concerned. Today, we use Airtel IQ for so many different reasons, including delivery, service, etc., etc. In a day, there are millions of calls which are exchanged on a network meant for Airtel use itself, servicing our customers. Some of the customers that we took it to as an experiment about a year back and conducted beta tests are up in front of you, Swiggy, etc. I will not go too deep into them. One or two examples is what I can take. The food delivery which Swiggy does to you, if you use Swiggy, the identity, the privacy control of your number falling into the delivery boy's number is completely managed by us. The entire call flows are managed by our platform. It's fast, rapidly expanding with them to do something much more. For example, now we have onboarded a process wherein the chefs of a restaurant can call the customer on our platform to customize the menu if you so require, and the entire call is takes place in a very seamless manner, good audio quality, and privacy of the customer is again maintained. Another example is Havells, a very different example. They ran multiple contact centers, about 2 or 3 of them in the country. And what used to happen is that whenever a customer called and a contact center location was booked, agents were occupied, the customer had to call all over again, creating immense amount of frustration, right? We have given them a solution wherein today, if a customer calls, our platform automatically determines which is not just the location which is free, which is the agent which is free, and directly routes the call to the agent. We have brought down their, repeat call, by around 90% as a result of that. Very delighted customer. Delivery had a challenge. This is a classic example of how companies have tried something, not worked, and come to a telco to solve the issue. Delivery used to use a solution and it was giving them severe issues as far as the central part of India is concerned. They could not enable deliveries. Many delivery boys had to come back because they could not locate customers. Calls were not going through. When they came to us, we onboarded them. They faced somewhat of a similar problem. Within 3 hours' time, we were able to pinpoint the issue which they were facing for 6 months and resolve it across the country. Right today, again, millions of calls is what delivery has with us. What started with 100 calls in a day is now millions of calls going on with us. We create customized contact centers, help desk for just dial. For the paid customers, we give them a dedicated number on our platform, and those guys can call or call out to end customers, basis that customers can also, interested buyers can call those sellers on that dedicated number. They are also a satisfied, happy customer, and so on. Some examples as such. The reason I shared these slides is to set a certain amount of spirit, a context as far as what we're going to discuss today. The idea is to talk about, as I mentioned earlier, how are we basically resolving, firstly, hearing a customer in an appropriate manner very carefully. What are we doing to ensure resolution? What are we trying to do to adopt technologies? And what are we trying to do to basically delight the customer from an engagement point of view? I think that's it. Satrajit, I'll hand over back to you.
Thank you, Avinash. I think that was really insightful, especially knowing how these champion brands are looking at customer engagement at a very robust way, and how Airtel has been helping them. So moving on to the next segment, and which is the major attraction of the day, so to say, fireside kind of a panel discussion where we would understand more about customer engagement, the nuances of customer engagement, and how to go deep into it and strategize well. In this panel, I'm really thrilled and really honored to be joined by Mr. Ganesh Lakshminarayan, who is the CEO of Airtel Business. Welcome, sir. Great to have you. And thank you, sir. Thank you for joining in. I would also like to introduce Mr. Sundi Raman. Mr. Sundi has been champion in the field of customer experience, and he is heading digital products and IoT at Airtel Business. Welcome, Sundi. Great to have you on board.
Same here.
And I'm also joined by Mr. Avinash Deepak, so he stays on. So thank you, Avinash. Right. So starting on, I'd first like to question, have this discussion with Mr. Ganesh first. So, sir, we are talking about customer experience here, but customers at large, right? We have seen a sea of change in customer behavior across categories. Their consumption patterns have changed. The touch points have increased, especially with the digital era. You name it and you have it, right? Customers are everywhere. So how do brands ensure, right? And it's a very overarching question. How do brands and how do business ensure that they are reaching out to their customers very effectively? And how do they ensure that they know their journey well, right from the start to the end?
Yeah, it's a very very changing times. The acceleration of digital adoption has been at its peak because of pandemic. So I kind of do this in three parts. One, as more and more of customers shopping online, getting services done online, learning online, working online, right, they absolutely want security and privacy. I think that is the biggest expectation our customers have. Second, they want this communication to be contextual, right? Third, they want this communication to be at their choice of channel and time. I think these three defines the new way of what customers are thinking about. Let me give you a couple of examples. On the security side, I don't have to give you any example, but at least for the enterprises, the one message I would leave with is that everybody in this audience and every other CIO out there, they will say, what is your number one priority? They'll say security. And all of them take security very seriously. They make sure that none of the data gets leaked. But they also, knowingly or unknowingly, hand over a lot of customer data to their partners. Whether these are partners who are sending SMSs on their behalf or taking calls on their behalf, are we making sure that the same responsibility we have over customer privacy and security, are we making that as an absolute demand on these partners as well? That's a very important thing which people should self-assess, because we have seen in the last 2-3 months alone, a lot of these partners, especially SMS aggregators, data leaking intentionally, unintentionally. We know of a financial company where people felt that their competition is coming to know about their campaigns, marketing campaigns, much before they themselves do. So there's definitely the thing about security, which I'll leave it with. The second is, it actually be contextual. It has to be contextual in the sense that, you saw that 2/3 of our people believe that our IQ is integrated with the CRM. I ordered a water purifier, and the water purifier was not even delivered. But I got 3 calls from the installation person saying, "Can I come to install it?"
Right.
It didn't even know. So because these two systems are independent, they didn't have the data feed, the linkages to this voice call being made. I'm sure there is one automatic outbound dialer setting up these calls. Did not know that this purifier has not been even delivered yet, right? Through these APIs, if it was integrated with their CRM, the CRM will not make this call unless they know that it has been delivered. And that is something which the customers are bare minimum expecting these days. It's a nuisance to have these calls. The third one is channel of their choice, time of their choice. It's a very interesting experience I had. I was shopping around for a big TV, Samsung TV. And I would tell the brand because it's our customer. I'm proudly sharing that story. I went to their website. I was looking around. First time I spent about 5-10 minutes. Then I zeroed in on a particular product. I was spending a lot more time on that page. Suddenly, I got a link saying, "Would you like to see a demo?" I was very curious. This is during COVID times. And there was a link shown. I clicked on the link. The video came up. And there was a store person. It was all set up as a store. And as if I was in a store, the person explained every feature of that TV, showed me the demo, how to work, what's the difference. And I asked a bunch of questions. And being a technology guy, I'm very curious about that one connect box they had. It's a beautiful design, by the way. And I was so, then I asked him, how do you guys do it? He said, "Look, if somebody is shopping on this channel and they are there for quite some time, we automatically offer this. It's an expensive proposition. There's a human being on the other side. They made sure that I am a serious buyer." And the person closes the call by saying, "When are you going to buy? Here's my phone number. If you have any questions, please call me." Now, imagine, I bought the TV, by the way. I bought the TV. So it's a beautiful experience when I had the choice to interact with them on a video, and it made the whole buying experience. So secure, contextual, and the channel of my choice and the time of my choice. That's what matters. In fact, actually gave me the time to connect on video as well. He said, "You please pick a time slot of your choice. I will connect." I picked a time slot and he was there on that call. So it's beautiful.
Great. That's really a great insight, and that is exactly what I meant when we are ensuring the customer journey, because Samsung at least made sure and ensured that they are there with you all throughout your customer journey till time you are researching until you ended up buying. So that's a great insight. Thank you, sir. Basically, taking a cue from Avinash's presentation, and there were a lot of brands. So I'll move to Avinash for this question. There were a lot of brands mentioned, your practices with your partners and how you are championing this cause of customer engagement. So in your experience, what are the major gaps that you see in customer engagement strategies these days? And how well have you seen customer engagement as a strategy and as a business driver evolve in business discussions and in their key growth discussions?
I think that's a good question, Satrajit. Let me just see. I would have personally met about 250 odd leaders in the industry from various, whether it's retail, some of the new age, born on the cloud organizations, some of the very advanced, companies who are doing business for years together. There are, while multiple companies have very typical, problems which are related to the specific segment that they are into, but 2-3 trends are coming out, right? One is obviously serious organizations take customer engagement very, very seriously. And there are very strong CRM tools which are built. There's so much of repository that you have about a customer, right? And then comes the time to engage. Clearly, the engagement is moving towards omnichannel. You cannot, as Ganesh was rightly putting it across, you cannot force a customer to choose a manner in which you will connect. If he wants to call, if he wants to chat, if he wants to browse, if he wants to, get on WhatsApp or whatever it is, you need to let the customer decide that. So the first thing is, while you have rich content and CRM system available, how do you actually engage with the customer is the big key thought. Many customers have, whomever I've spoken to, have created robust platforms, and most of them are complaining about 3-4 areas. They say that whenever we set up a customer engagement tool, the customer is not in your office premises. He's obviously sitting somewhere out there in the wild world as such. You have to use a few things to reach him. You have to have some sort of an application which deciphers which is the customer, maintains some privacy, and so on and so forth. And then you have a delivery, right? Delivery is basically through an SMS, as I said, WhatsApp, calls, browser, whatever it is. The biggest challenge which I have come across when I have met the customers that I'm talking about is they say that we have gone ahead and deployed this with small organizations, right? With all due respect to them, with what we call loosely distributors or aggregators of voice minutes. And the problem there that all of them, 90% of the customers report is that we have no idea, what is happening to our customer calls on a real-time basis or on a past basis. We have no idea what was the quality, what got spoken out there, what did the call actually go through or not. If the call did not go through, what is the reason? So they're all scratching their heads to find out. I've deployed great insights and CRM systems within, but when it has to connect with the larger audience, I don't have a view, right? When I operate with a small operator. Secondly, the experience is not up to mark. In some cases, it is terrible, right? Without naming customers, I can tell you that there have been days together wherein intermittent calls were sort of taking place. There are calls which were getting chopped off, without getting completed. There were calls in which the quality of the call, right, was very, very weak. The agent on the other side, on the customer side, and the end client, they had to repeat things multiple times. Still, clarity was not being gained. These are several issues which we have come across as such. And lastly, of course, more or less several customers have complained, especially in the financial segment, especially in the online segment, that I suspect my data is being misused for somebody else. The reason all of us get these wild SMSs or calls from third parties is not because that customer has said that I'm interested in an insurance or a credit card. It is because somebody is stealing data from here and going and selling it there, saying that, by the way, I can offer you credit card or food delivery or whatever it is, you can call up, a certain somebody. So the feeling in the industry is that we are operating with players who are not completely trustworthy from a point of view of the infrastructure setup that they have, or the way they're engaging with telcos, like Airtel, and the security of the information, as such. In fact, many a time we ended up taking the blame, though we had nothing to do with it, saying that, look, the call quality is bad because it's your problem. Like the example of delivery, which I had mentioned, they knocked at our door saying that, look, please fix your network in the central part of India, right? It's just not working. When we looked at this, it's not my network. I do not know how you're really talking about the problem being on our side. When we brought them onto a platform, then was what we realized that the way the small aggregator had orchestrated telecom networks was really inefficient. It was subscale. It was being shared across multiple of their customers. The networks were getting choked as a result of that. So these are the few things that we have seen and observed as far as the industry is concerned.
Great, great insights again, Avinash. So, before moving on to Sundi, I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in from our audiences. So I'm just, ensuring then, once we are done with this discussion, we'll definitely take up audience questions for our panel of experts. So keep them coming. Yeah. Moving on this same subject about customer engagement, Avinash mentioned a cue about omnichannel, customer engagement. So my question to Sundi would be, why omnichannel is important, what omnichannel is actually, and why is it so important for brands these days?
Yeah, thanks, Satrajit. See, omnichannel means you are present everywhere, which is
Right.
a consumer can interact either over a voice call or a messaging like an SMS, WhatsApp, or a video interface or a video call, for example. Can be any one of these channels that the brand can allow their customer to communicate with them or engage with them. That's really omnichannel communication. Now, why is it very important? See, if you look at customer engagement, what is it? At the end of the day, it's a human connect between the brand and their customer. Sentiments that drive or influence the customer to buy more or engage more with the brand. Ultimately, that's what the brands want to do, and customers will pick the brand that is open to them in terms of the communication methodologies or the channels they want to communicate with, which is where the omnichannel communication is very critical part of this. And I think Ganesh called out, Avinash also called out. Many times, largely, if you look at the evolution of businesses, product differentiation was very critical. So lots of features were debated in terms of who is better in the market and how to gain market share. But in this day and age of digital, it is not just product differentiation. It is the experience you provide to the end consumer that will define your market share. And so customer engagement is the new battlefield, a competitive battlefield. And almost, if you talk to any C-level executive, any of these brands, they will always talk about this, that they're focusing more on how they want to transform their customer engagement and meet their customers in their preferred channel of choice. It can be voice, as I said, can be SMS. Not only that, how do you trigger or create a workflow that is seamless? So you make a voice call and the customer called you missed it, but can you send an SMS and re-engage back with the customer, or send them a WhatsApp? From the WhatsApp, can you create a voice call or a back to the SMS? You give options and be very flexible to the end consumer in the way they want to interact with you, right? Sometimes they want human interaction. So you have stores, and retail industry is a very big one. But now with the COVID and pandemic, you have to make retail, the stores are now becoming very digital. So it's a virtual stores being shown up. So all this is part of omnichannel presence, so that the customer you're always able to communicate with the customer and then try to see how you can serve them better. And whoever does this better will always win the race.
That's great. Thank you, Sundi. So, continuing with, on that omnichannel approach, the next question that obviously comes to any business leader's mind, and, my question is to, especially to Sundi, is what is the cost effectiveness of a omnichannel approach, right? And, looking at the cost part and looking at implementing the entire, customer engagement strategy in place, how do you define a cost effective strategy for your partners?
See that when a brand is trying to figure out the omnichannel strategy and trying to figure out the engagement, first of all, if you just look at the numbers that we know of brands who are using the strategy and deploying the strategy, there's at least a 23% uplift in terms of wallet share, in terms of doing more business with that brand when you effectively deploy a omnichannel communication strategy. This is well proven. So 23% is a massive uplift for anybody. Now, if you look at the cost structure of this, what does cost really mean here? It is simply embedding. Today, the consumers are using mobile phones. They're using WhatsApp. They're using messaging services like SMS. They already have a bandwidth is abundant, so you can do video calls at an instance. The cost structure here, especially when you're working with a very credible operator who has a pan-India network, which the investments have been laid, the ability for them to actually provide it at scale, at cost, is very, very efficient there. So cost for a brand to deploy this is not more than, it's not like in terms of an ROI analysis, if you do it, cost is not the factor. The more important piece, which the brands are really working on right now, is how to create that experience using the tech layer. Like Ganesh pointed out, the personalization of what he got from Samsung, like they're browsing. Now that involves a lot of deep thinking, understanding the experience you want to give. It's not about the technology cost here. It is about how do you create that design that when a consumer is interacting with you, you're personalizing that. Now, you can't give a cost to that. It's about the creativity of the people who are trying to work through and understanding the customers. Technology is just an enabler there. And it's not the cost factor there. I would not agree with the cost piece of it. It is about, can you create experiences? So how intuitive it is, the platform that you're using, so that you can seamlessly connect different channels is more important, right? So I'll say that the platform has to be very intuitive, not necessarily cost. It's the ability to be creative on top of the platform, to stitch a journey you want to give to the end consumer and continuously evolve it based on the interactions you see. That's basically how I'll frame it.
Right. So you essentially mean, it should not be calculated against some kind of an ROI, right? It is an experience. It's something that you are investing in, creating experiences, which will obviously result in some positives for your brand.
Yes, absolutely. And there have been a lot of research with our own customers. We know it. It's a massive uplift in terms of engagement and the wallet share they can get from that customer.
Right. My next question is directed to Mr. Ganesh, and it is a derivative question from all the inputs that I have from all of my panelists here, and the question is from Mr. Ganesh. So we have spoken about examples from Samsung. We have that you have given. We have seen in Avinash's presentation. We have seen about examples from Swiggy, delivery, Havels. So my question is, if we look at the categories of these brands and businesses, they are mostly digital first or electronics, and those have a digital inclination in customer experience or customer engagement. Do you really think that when we talk about non-digital products or non-digital categories, right? How does omnichannel help there, and how does customer engagement? Should customer engagement be looked at differently in those categories, or how the brand, which is a non-digital first product, ensure better customer engagement?
It's a great question. Let me take an example of the biggest luxury retailer in India. I won't name them, but during the pandemic, they sold 400 crores worth of jewelry without a customer stepping into the store. And because this brand is trusted, more importantly, the store which they buy from is the same store they buy all the time. Because it's a luxury item, they trust the brand, they trust the store, and they trust the salesperson. And what this brand enabled was a simple customer communication vehicle where they call the customer, the store, and the salesperson takes them on a video and shows the luxury jewelry, puts it on, showcases the way you will be in the shop. And people make the order, and either they drive and pick it up or they get home delivered. Now, you can say that this has nothing to do with digital product. It's high-end luxury. People normally thought they will touch and feel and then only buy.
Right.
They were extremely successful in basically what I heard the CEO tell me is that they basically have transformed the stores to be the digital front end. They want to sell from the store, not sell in the store alone. And IQ platform can enable all of it. We can enable every call coming into every store. We can make a landline or any line, for example. We can make the phone call ring on the manager, or we can ring it on any salesperson if the manager is not picking up. We can enable a video session on it. So you can have a real sales session on the video. And once the order is placed, you can communicate to them via SMS and phone call on the status of various delivery status and stuff like that. So you can see how a very non-digital retail front end could use this very effectively, right? And some of the roadmaps we are thinking about for this product, it will only enhance this. I mean, video is one example. We're also thinking about a model where we can take any customer call and land on any agent who is sitting at anywhere. So we call it call anywhere, land anywhere. We can land it on the mobile number today. In a couple of months, we can land it on an IP address, IP phone, right? So agents sitting at home, logging on to a device like a computer or a phone, can take calls and answer calls. And imagine how much transformation this would bring without a need for any infrastructure, additional infrastructure. So only telecom companies can do it.
Correct.
Regulatory angles have to be thought through. So I don't think it's for only digital first or startup companies. I think every traditional company has an option to use this.
Correct. Taking a cue from your answer, Mr. Ganesh, and I can open this up for anyone to basically key in, right? And I would really like inputs from all three of you actually, and your point of view on how Airtel IQ as a product, right, and Airtel IQ as a customer engagement tool. What are the specific areas that you can actually go and help a brand solve their customer engagement problems? So I'll start with Avinash first.
I'll talk about some real cases without naming the end customer. I think, as I really said, that it stands for robustness, it stands for security, and it is a growing, learning, intuitive platform which is easy to deploy. We are listening to our customers very, very carefully, and almost every day a small little feature gets added for a specific customer, which is incidentally, benefiting a much more larger set of our base as such. So the platform is continuously learning, continuously being developed. The great power, one of the questions that you had was that we have learned that creating something of our own is far more meaningful to our own internal setup as well as to our customers as such. This is something that is completely thought processed and engineered locally in-house by us, by our own labs team. Few areas that we are, as I said, helping customers in various segments. We're helping banks, insurance companies reach out for prospective customers in a very effective manner using our own analytics, rather than making wild calls to just about everybody, and trying to get one customer out of a lakh calls. We help pinpoint the right customer which should be called out. For other organizations like e-commerce and any delivery related customer, we are helping them identify which are the prospective delivery partners, delivery boys or drivers, right, that you can pick up through using our analytic platforms, our analytics, our big data analytics as such. We are helping online companies, born on the cloud companies, figure out which are the customers who are on feature phones, which will likely go live, on a 4G phone and come alive on the internet in the next 3 to 6 months time. We're helping them target those cyber illiterate, cyber dark customers proactively, about their product, saying that, okay, you can buy a phone, you can buy a product when you have, this application in hand. We are helping run various types of surveys on this in a non-intrusive manner, in a language that is a choice of the end user. Today we have 7 or 8 languages that we have launched. So if you want to run a survey in Gujarat, for example, to a set of community who likes to be only called after 6 o'clock, we can configure that as close as possible to the choice of the customer and drive that entire call in Gujarati, right? One of my favorite examples is how we targeted, Bengalis during Durga Puja who do not stay in West Bengal, who are outside. Yeah. So this might be close to you. And it was
I can relate it well.
it was an immensely popular platform because it brought the entire community together, right? One of the other big brands co-worked with us, and of course, it led to some small business for us, some small business for the brand that we were working in. But essentially, it created community, a harmony among these people under a certain, product that we had created. It brought them all together. Another one we have targeted is that for a taxi company, cab hailing company, we help them. So these cabs are lying vacant between 11 o'clock and 4 o'clock because this is before the pandemic, because it's not peak hour, right? The taxis are vacant. So we helped reach out to people who use taxi services, who might want to use taxi services between 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Young housewives who want to go out and buy groceries or take the elders to hospital. They have to pick up the kids from tuition or pick them up from school. The elderly who want to travel to a hospital or travel to meet friends. And it was a very immensely successful program in terms of customer engagement that we brought about for that company. There are 1,000 examples that I can keep going on. But we really relish, walking these journeys with the brands that we work with. We are seen as somebody who is really working on something which is cutting edge. We are seen as somebody who is helping them not just improve cost lines, but also improve revenue lines, for them. These are the few examples that how we are helping, customers at large.
I would want to come to each one of you and like a sentence about the future of customer engagement and the future of omnichannel customer engagement, and how does it? I mean, how do you see with the sea of changes, coming in? Especially, we mentioned the pandemic so many times in our discussion today, and pandemic has really changed the customer behavior as such. So, your take about the future of customer engagement from a brand's perspective. So I'll come to Mr. Ganesh first, and then I'll just come to everyone.
No, I think we should dream big, and with 5G coming up, and we have some big dreams for Airtel. I mean, I'm a big Starbucks fan. I'm a big coffee fan, but unfortunately, the pandemic has taught me to order everything online. But I also like the experience of being in a Starbucks store. So wouldn't it be great if I'm sitting at home and I am looking through the lens of an associate, as if I'm standing in front of all the bakery stuff and pick my bakery. I look up the specials on the door, on the board, and pick my the latest special of the day. I order the coffee as if I'm there in the store, and finally my name is called and I pick up the coffee from the associate. But it'll be done through Dunzo or Swiggy, but I get to visualize as if I am inside the store. And I think that's possible. And that will be possible pretty soon. It will need a little bit of higher bandwidth, but we will bring that through 5G. And I think that will be the height of customer engagement. And we would definitely bring that to the Indian market.
That's true, and I just remembered, how many new iterations of my name have been called in Starbucks store. So, that's the other side of having a very hard, pronouncing name. So, moving on to Sundi. So, Sundi, your take about the future of, what Ganesh said was kind of a hybrid environment, and we are gradually moving towards that. So, how would customer engagement be, and what would customer engagement mean for, leading brands going in the future?
See, customer engagement will be phygital. Like Ganesh, there will always be physical aspects to engagement. That is, a store will always be there.
Right.
And then at the same time, there'll be digital version of the store. So what Ganesh is talking about is very much where the whole engagement will be there. The important part is the seamlessness between the channels. How seamless can you make? So when you walk into a store and then you walk out of the store and be at your home, are you able to track what is going on? Is the brand able to tell you where the order is? And many times people will just order while they're working. So how easy the plugins are of your plugins to actually make that conversation with the customer. The customer starts a conversation on some of the applications that they're using to place an order. It can be in any one of these chats. They're conversing and then suddenly say, this is a great product. How can you embed an experience, buy experience there immediately, right? Then you want to see it in the store. Can you book an appointment immediately and go there on the store? If you want to go to the store, allow that aspect, or go to AR, VR kind of a concept. You're able to see. And these are all possibilities that will open up as we move into the next generation of cellular connectivity, 5G, of course. Even with 4G, people are stretching the limits of it. So for me, it is all about phygital. You don't have any difference between a physical domain versus a digital domain. It is coming together. And you can walk out of the virtual world and be in the real world, and walk out of the real world and be in the virtual world, as if there's no difference.
Right. Hybrid is the way to go. So Avinash, your take.
I think while I'll not cover the fact that it has to be virtual in various advanced manners, including I see the future in AR, VR, as far as customer engagement is concerned. I'll not touch that. I think Sundi and Ganesh has touched. But I think two things. One is the spirit of the organization has to be long-term customer centricity, and right from the top to the junior most employee in the company, to the partner, to the entire systems. The company of the future is someone who's able to have organizational sensitivity towards customers as such, not revenue sensitivity, but customer centricity. The second is predictability. If organizations are able to predict beforehand the experience gaps as far as customers are concerned, or the experience expectations of the customers are concerned, and be able to do something to address it proactively, that is the future. As far as that's the organization of the future. That's an organization which is sustained for decades. Just predictability, sensitivity as far as the organization is concerned, predictability, and then thirdly, advanced, virtualization or omnichannel or whatever you really call it. That's my view.
So Avinash, this question is directed to you, right? And this is from Ms. Aditi, who is asking. So she specifically has asked about what was the technology that was mentioned by you for businesses when the pandemic started mainly.
So one of the technologies that I mentioned was something which is enabling a home user, a client at home, who's typically used to going to a store. He is able to call a contact center agent or a customer relationship officer sitting out of home. As such, now mind you, in our parlance, we are talking about people who are farmers, people who are small-time merchants, newspaper wala, and etc., who are habitual to walking into a store, speaking the language of the choice, and getting the questions answered. We have enabled through our platform, which is a very simple Airtel IQ platform, wherein the user sitting out of home can actually dial and contact. In his language, he can speak to somebody, on the other side as such. To the extent possible, we try and get him the same officer that is used to visiting, on a regular basis as such. That's one technology. The technology is all in the cloud. I saw another question. There is nothing that you require. You just require a CRM at your end if you want to go live on this. It takes a matter of few hours. If it's a little complex, a few days to basically onboard you onto the platform. You don't require anything else. You don't require, I was reading some questions, what infrastructure I need to put in my office. Nothing is required as such. It's all in the cloud. You bring your CRM, automatically your customer and your agent start talking to each other. The cloud enables it. Our platform enables it. You just need to have your database of customer through your CRM as such. These are the few things that we are observing.
Great. Thanks, Avinash. So there's a question about 5G adoption, and I think it is connected to what Mr. Ganesh was mentioning about once 5G comes in. So I'm directing this question to you, Mr. Ganesh. So there are specific question about how Airtel is planning. So basically, Airtel IQ is planning an adoption of 5G, and is the Indian market at all 5G ready? I think this question is directed towards Airtel IQ services rather than Airtel.
So the Indian market will be 5G ready, and I think with 5G we will get much higher speeds and lower latency. That will enable us to offer video communications in a much more robust way, and IQ will definitely benefit from 5G when it's fully rolled out.
Moving on to the next question, and this is, again, open to anyone. So when Mr. Manoj asks, what is Airtel IQ doing in terms of ensuring quality in servicing and troubleshooting? So maybe, Sundi or Avinash can answer that.
See, at Airtel IQ, in terms of quality, see, what we are bringing to the table is our telco grade network, the grid that we have. What we have done is we are offering this grid as a simple API for anybody to embed. So the quality is still inbuilt, which is why we talk about the robustness of this. And then what we also offer as part of this offering is our enterprise grade support. So we constantly monitor not only we monitor our network, we monitor what the calls, the APIs the customers are using. So to ensure the uptime, we talked about 3 nines. We are trying to push it to 5 nines right now. That's what the team is working on. So our investments, our R&D investments is definitely ensuring and raising the bar of quality, providing 5 nines instead of 3 nines, which is where we are today. Because it's built on a telco grade network, none of the calls leave our network. So everything is happening within the telco grade network. So the quality is very high. We have cases where customers have told us that they were using a different provider for the same services, and the troubleshooting SLAs where there was no ETA for it. The issues were going on forever. Whereas when they switched on to Airtel IQ, within 15 minutes, we resolved our issue. And it was not an issue with Airtel, it was actually an interoperator issue. So there are a lot of these aspects of the solution that we as an operator, and because we have had 20 plus years of experience building this network out, both in terms of SMS and voice, we can provide far better SLAs and uptime than anybody else. And we want to supplement that and complementing that with our team of people who constantly monitor. They are both humans as well as machines that are monitoring all this network. So to ensure that quality is very high.
Right. I think we have just time for, maximum 2 questions. So I'll just quickly, there is an anonymous question. It's a very interesting one, and it's open to all 3 of you. What are the biggest challenges for a CPG brand for adopting omnichannel RTM? Especially when the drawbacks are unmanaged in terms of general trade, which contributes to major retail markets. So over to any of you.
We briefly touched upon this as we and one of the cases of one of the store examples that Ganesh had given, which is when the pandemic hit, people stopped walking to the store, right? Some of the biggest sales of the CPG brands happen in store. Right. Now, how do you get a salesperson sitting in their house, connect back with the consumer, and continue to have the sale? Is where Airtel IQ can come in. We can take a call, land on a mobile phone, connect the caller wherever they are, between the brand and the consumer, with no telecom infrastructure that is needed. So they can simply move as if nothing happened. And that's what we saw with some of the CPG brands that are using our solution right now. That is, they went from a physical interaction to almost a virtual interaction and still having their sales going up.
Right.
That's one of the things that Airtel IQ kind of solution can really help solve.
Right. I think we are really running short of time, and I just won't want to miss a very interesting question, and that's the last question, gentlemen. And I promise, whichever question we have missed, you all can write to us, and we'll try and get our experts to answer them. What is the scope of omnichannel customer strategy for a pharmaceutical company? And again, it's open to everyone.
Yeah. So again, pharmaceutical companies typically, if you look at where most of their sales is happening, in store, right? So that's one channel they are doing. They need to take it to online, which again, lots of pharmaceutical companies are trying to do, which is the e-commerce way of doing it, right?
Right.
Now, if you want to become truly omnichannel, what should happen here is that the ordering system has to be integrated at the place where somebody's prescribing that medicine, right? That's the first way of trying to connect the dots. Then the second part is many people may not want to walk into store, but may want to get the medicines delivered at home. right? So that's the second. The second part of this is how do you get it shipped, but tell the customer where the order is. So giving the order updates so that they don't get stressed out when the order will get there, right? So
Right.
the ability for us to ship. Then the third part of this is that some people have recurring prescription, right? They have to order. So
Right.
how do you take out the stress of ordering, and whether the system is actually sending reminders to make the order? So the three aspects of the life cycle of the how the medicine gets from the doctors prescribing it to the consumer who's actually going to consume it. How do you connect all the different touch points through a platform like Airtel IQ can enable this very seamlessly, right? So pharmaceutical companies can move just from a store to now digital and vice versa.
Great, great. I think we have really come to an end of today's session. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. I'm sure everyone attending this session, and including me, are going back with major takeaways in regards to customer experience and how to champion the cause of what we earlier said, keeping up with your customers. So, on behalf of BT Brand Equity, I would like to thank each one of you for joining us today. And as always, if you have any suggestions, feedback for us, and new subjects that you would want us to cover, you would want us to touch upon, please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, my panel. I would really like to thank Mr. Ganesh, Mr. Sundi, Mr. Avinash, for taking out time from their busy schedules and enriching us today. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone. And till next time, stay tuned to ET Brand Equity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.